Lawyers of Reddit, which fictional villain would you have the easiest time defending?
Robbie Rotten. I mean, his crimes mostly just aren't. Edit, did none of you see the word mostly?
The only actual serious crime I can remember off the top of my head was the time he snuck onto Sportacus blimp and started fucking around with it. Trespassing, grand theft auto, if that even applies to blimps, probably grand larceny if it doesn't, reckless driving, and probably other related charges.
Does Dr. Doom need legal defense? As the ruler of his own country, does diplomatic immunity cover all of his actions?
Pretty much, that's how he keeps getting away with things in the comics. He's the legal sovereign leader of a respected modern country, so can't be arrested for fear of provoking a war. They did try a few times replacing him with someone who has a better legal right to the country, but they always turn out to crazy tyrants, as opposed to Doom, who is generally and at least a reasonable dictator, so usually he either wins it back.
As opposed to Doom, who is generally and at least reasonable dictators. Doom is a dick to everyone outside of Latveria. But by all accounts Latveria is a pretty nice place to live if you don't mind the autocracy.
Oh yeah, provided you can put up with his egotism and restrictions, the overall standard of living seems pretty good. The trains are almost certainly running on time. Plus, before Doom it was a backwater tiny Eastern European nation that had changed hands every few decades to increasing worse options. Now it's a major global superpower with some of the most advanced technology on the planet. Whatever your opinion of Doom personally, on some level that must feel good.
Wasn't it just the remains of the former ruling class of Latvia that hates him and his country? From what I recall, his own people love him as their savior and protector.
Oh yeah, the people love Doom. He went into a self-imposed exile and a cruel, dictator took over, and a rebellion immediately broke out, and the resistance went to find Doom. The leader, who convinced Doom to come back and rule again, was given superpowers, named Victorious, and she is his right-hand man now. And apparently, in the next couple of issues, his soon-to-be bride.
Most of the old-school Scooby-Doo villains. They didn't really do anything other than scare people off of private property.
Most of them are doing so for illegal reasons though, like insurance fraud or tax evasion or whatever.
And they would have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for you meddling kids.
When I was a kid, I remember being devastated in the movie Big Daddy when the social worker took Zach and Cody away from Adam Sandler, but after watching it again as an adult, although still sad, I'm thinking, yeah, of fucking course they're going to take him away from this stranger. So the social worker from Big Daddy is a layup case.
Not to mention Sandler's character literally lied to social services so his unemployed, lazy ass could have a child. Dude should have been arrested.
They were going to arrest him at the end, and then for some reason Jon Stewart saying he was the dad of Julian totally absolves Sandler of fraud, for no reason.
He was TV's most trusted newsman, of course they believed him.
In the same vein, Mrs. Doubtfire. Daniel couldn't hold down a job or apartment, so of course he wasn't in a position to have joint custody. But then he literally dresses up as an old woman and deceives his entire family to have time with his kids. Then when they take the kids away, of course they're going to remove the children from someone who's unstable enough to see assuming a new identity and lying to my whole family as a better alternative to get my shit together so I can see my kids.
There's a great fake trailer of Mrs. Doubtfire as a thriller movie.
Mr. S. Doubtfire as a thriller movie. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=u71p5fkfqfg.
I wipe my own ass, I wipe my own ass.
Zach and Cody?
Julian/Frankenstein was played by twins. Those twins grew up to have their own show, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Mojo Jojo.
This one is good because typically animals can't commit crimes. They'd have to establish his legal personhood first.
Animals may not be capable of committing crimes, but then they have no civil rights either, such as a right to a trial, or to legal representation. If you rely on non-personhood as a defense, he gets sent to a zoo at best, or at worst put down. It's the defense that wants to prove personhood, not the state.
In my jurisdiction, I would say Damien from The Omen. Minimum age for delinquency adjudication is 12, and in the first movie he's 5, so he couldn't be tried for any of his evil doings.
Deaf Lex Luthor. 99% of the time uses henchmen who won't talk, and he can deaf pay my exorbitant bills.
He would probably just defend himself in court. Also, he has to win at all costs. He's a sore Luthor.
I feel like Lex is smart enough to know when to defer to someone else's expertise, but he does have a big ego, so maybe.
So as a comic reader, Lex actually does respect people that know their crafts well, even if they aren't on his intellectual level. If he were to appear in court and the charges were serious enough, he would hire the best legal mind and listen to his advice earnestly and float some legal maneuvers he might have found out about towards the lawyer. As pointed out by /Ezrael TB, Luthor would most likely hire the best legal minds. Hell, he could probably get all of Harvard Law if he wanted to.
If for some reason Lex couldn't intimidate or by the judge/jury/witnesses/cops/close family members, he'd spend about a day researching the relevant laws and cases and figure he could do a better job than any normal person, but would hire/blackmail a super lawyer like a genie, or Daredevil, She-Hulk, etc. if he genuinely thought he might lose. Of course, doing that would backfire on him and end up being a greater threat than facing the law ever could. Edit. Apparently being the most famous Marvel lawyer doesn't necessarily mean you're very good at it. I assumed he had Phoenix Wright levels of lawyering skill going for him, but apparently not.
I always thought Daredevil was actually only a mediocre lawyer.
He's a decent lawyer if you're broke, but there's a reason why the X-Men have She-Hulk on retainer instead.
You all are missing the point. Lex is from the DC universe.
I hate you and you need to leave. Have my upvote as a parting gift.
I could mount a pretty solid wrongful death case on behalf of the boy who cried wolf.
This is great. What's it from?
Someone else mentioned that it's Mitchell and Webb. Specifically, it's from their radio show That Mitchell and Webb Sound. Pretty sure it was in Series 4. They also had a TV show called That Mitchell and Webb Look, which was hilarious too. It's best known on Reddit for the sketch where some World War II German soldiers are wondering, are we the baddies?
Mitchell and Webb.
Lawyer here. Light from Death Note. The guy likes to write names of dead people in a notebook, so what? Morbid hobby, but not illegal. I don't think it's possible to establish a cause-effect nexus between writing a name and people dying. And saying, well, it's magic, will not hold in court.
Even if you could prove the death note is a weapon, which is basically what L has to do, is there any way to absolve Light by putting the blame on the demon? Like parents who leave a gun around the house and a kid finds it and shoots someone, it's the parent's fault for not keeping the dangerous thing away from the lesser being who obviously can't handle it.
That would be complicated. Light is old and mature enough to know what he's doing, and it's not like he writes names by accident, so the blame is 100% on him. But, since the demon, what was his name? I can't remember, has given him the weapon and he's just looking, he can probably be charged too, depending on the laws that apply.
Ryuk was the name, I think. Now I have to watch the show again. Ugh.
Well, the entire story is more or less about finding the perpetrator and gathering enough hard evidence to arrest and convict them, since the law enforcement side very quickly deduces through evidence that someone located in the general area where Light lives is killing convicted criminals through some novel, likely supernatural means.
Is there a mute supervillain?
Does Mr. Skinner from live action 101 Dalmatians count?